think there's something to be said for that.
I agree, yeah.
You're on.
Good evening. Welcome to the special meeting of the Historic Preservation Commission, this July 31st, 2025. Well, my name is Edmund Tedeschi. I am still chair of the commission for this year, and I will have my commission members introduce themselves again.
Peter Keebler, associate member.
Anne-Marie Quinn, member.
Nathaniel King, member.
Liam Reardon, Vice Chair.
Thank you. And also in attendance from the city, we have Ann and Matt. I am not going to go through the full standard introduction, as many of you have heard this before, but I do want to just reemphasize a few things. So we'll cover the basics. Again, first, the Historic Preservation Commission does serve as the Bangor Center Revitalization Area Design Review Committee designated under Section 71 of City Ordinances, which covers review issues in the downtown and waterfront areas of Bangor. And secondly, we have several responsibilities under historic preservation sections of city ordinances, which is section 148, which include issuing certificates of appropriateness, which is what we're doing tonight, or attempting to do tonight, for construction of or changes to buildings within the city's designated historic districts. If all regular members are in attendance, associate members participate in the meeting but do not vote on motions. In the event that any regular members are absent, associate members will vote such as there are a total of 5 votes on any motion. As this is a certificate of appropriateness application, we will be looking for 4 affirmative votes to issue a certificate of appropriateness. So, the order of the meeting just goes as we call the applicants in the order they appear in the agenda. Of course, we only have the one applicant tonight. If you do wish to speak on any point during the presentation or during the meeting when we are calling for speaking, please approach the podium so that you can be easily heard by everyone who is present online, if anyone. So, I know Peter.
Thank you.
3 final comments, just as a reminder, of course, for our applicant. If it looks like your project will not be approved, you may choose to withdraw your application, amend your application, and then resubmit for a future meeting. If you disagree with the decision of the commission regarding your project, you have the right to appeal the decision to the Board of Appeals, and all projects need to be started within 6 months and completed within a year. Otherwise, a new application would have to be put before the commission. And as always, just as last time, we can vote to continue if that is something that is of interest. Okay. So, and in the absence of our counsel, do you want me to recess or proceed with any other
I think you can proceed.
Okay. So, in the interest of putting everything on the tables, as it were, I now need to ask the commission if they have anything that they feel might be a conflict of interest in regards to this application, so that we may evaluate that before we discuss the application. Thank you, Peter.
Yes. So before I bring forth the issue, I do want to give a little background as to why I bring it forward. In this issue, Mr. Farron has, in my opinion, made this process needlessly contentious. In addition, the letter sent to this commission by Tony Yeaton in Mr. Farron's support, which is now a matter of public record, has been accusatory towards this commission, which is a volunteer commission, of at best favoritism and at worst corruption. Mr. Farron has shown disregard for the City of Bangor's statutes and the due process of this commission. As a physician of long and high standing in this community, I hold myself, as I know my fellow commission members, to high standards of ethical behavior. With this as background, though I do not believe my issue to be a conflict of interest, I want to be fully transparent and bring it to this open meeting for assistance from this commission as regards the interpretation of the city's detailed statutes about conflict of interest. This is to be sure that there can be no current or future objection to my involvement in this discussion and the commission's action on this matter. The issue at hand is that I rent workshop space to a Bangor company that does restoration work, which includes slate and other roofing. That is my issue, and I bring it to this group for discussion and action.
Peter? Questions from any of the commission members in regards to Peter's statement? So do you believe that the statute in question here is under 3311B, which would be any city councillor, board member, or commission member who believes that they or a member of their immediate family has a financial or special interest?
I think that would probably be the closest.
Okay. For the commission, the entirety of that particular paragraph is any city councillor, board member, or commission member who believes that they or a member of their immediate family has a financial or special interest other than an interest held by the public generally in any agenda item before their collective body shall disclose the nature and extent of such interest, and the city clerk or their designee shall make a record of such disclosure. Such disclosure will be made no later than the date of the first meeting of the city council, board, commission, or committee thereof, at which the agenda item concerned is to be taken up for consideration, recommendation, discussion, or vote. Peter, as you will need to leave the room while we discuss.
Okay, that's fine. Do you have any other questions for me about this issue?
You have stated that you have a financial interest, at least in potentiality, and this is a question of a slate roof installation.
Correct.
You rent office space to a slate installer.
Yes.
Do you have anything else that you would wish to disclose or bring up before we?
No, that's
discuss?
really it. I will step out, thank you.
Liam,
Yes.
strong feelings one way or the other on this one?
Well, I'm looking over the conflict of interest statute, 33-11.
Needed.
So there is, the issue is whether there is any personal financial interest. This strikes me as kind of a secondary or tertiary one. It's not as if the group is doing work on the structure involved. So that inclines me to think that it's not a conflict of interest. On the other side, we are really encouraged to avoid the appearance of a conflict of interest. And in that sort of broader sense, I could see a reason to determine that Peter Keebler has a conflict of interest, and it would make sense to vote to not have him participate in this discussion. So I'm sort of mixed opinion. I can go either way on this one. I'm curious what my fellow commissioners think.
I'm looking at 3311D, avoidance of appearance of
Yeah.
conflict.
Yes.
I think you're right. It could really go either way. This could be a financial interest because yes, he is renting space and receiving money from it. But is that directly involved? That's probably not really for me to determine. But what I think is we have to look at what the regs say. And D clearly says avoidance of appearance of conflict. And I think for probably the best thing to do would be to avoid the appearance of conflict. Did you look at this handwriting?
Yeah, I've seen it.
Okay. That's kind of my take on it.
Okay. Anne Marie?
I think there is no conflict of interest because my understanding is that from this conversation, that the person renting space is not involved in this project. And therefore, he does not receive any money from anyone who's involved in this particular issue,
Okay.
in my opinion.
So you don't think he has a financial conflict of interest? Do you believe that this is, as Nathaniel brought up, do you think this is in the spirit of avoiding the appearance of a conflict?
I think that there is no conflict.
Okay.
I think if we look strictly at the code, so that would be 33-11, item D. The avoidance of an appearance of conflict is after a decision about a conflict of interest has been made. So it's really section 3311C and the three issues there. If we decide there's a conflict of interest, then to avoid the appearance of a conflict, we would ask the individual to not participate and not be present during the discussion.
Correct.
So
Okay.
it is sort of there's a sequence to this. So it really, we're asked to determine in section C if there is a conflict of interest. And that doesn't have any mention of the appearance.
Okay. It is a majority vote on whether we believe there is a conflict or not.
It doesn't really specify any definitions of what they determine to be a financial interest. Is it just left in financial? Do they specify, like it has to be a direct monetary, and then does receiving rent from?
It's even more complicated than that,
Okay,
because the
cool.
code is a member or their immediate family has a financial or special interest, other than an interest held by the public generally.
We have no
So,
definitions on special interest or,
That's for us to
okay.
determine whether his interest qualifies, I believe, as a special interest. Thank you, Ann.
Okay, thank you.
so I think it's a tough decision, but anyone on further
Sorry.
discussion? Shall we move to a vote?
I'm going to assume that it's a direct conflict of interest, not something that you can use your imagination to arrive at. I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, this is a small community. I mean, it's not, at least it's not large. You can imagine almost anything.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's too much of a stretch of the imagination for me to conceive that this is a conflict of interest.
Yeah.
There's no connection, direct connection between Peter Keebler and this job. So I'm gonna stick.
Sure. Further discussion, Nate, are you ready to cast your vote?
Yeah, let's go ahead and do it.
So,
Would you,
A level motion.
receive a motion to vote on whether or not Associate Member Keebler has a conflict of interest as related to the agenda item for 198 Broadway?
Okay,
I'll second the motion.
thank you. And we will roll call Anne Marie.
I think he does not have a conflict.
So you're voting, if I'm getting the phrasing of what you
Okay,
said,
so-
you're voting no.
No,
Does that
No conflict.
align with your
That
phrasing?
sounds right, like no, a no vote would be no conflict, a yes vote would
You
be
need to have
yes.
a motion, right?
Right, I just want to make sure the motion is clear. So if you
Yeah,
are moving
right.
that he has, please move that he has a conflict of interest. We'll go with that.
Okay. I will make a motion that Associate Member Keebler has a conflict of interest for the agenda item for 198 Broadway.
Thank you. Are you still okay to second that, Liam?
I will second that. Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you.
so the motion is that he has a conflict of interest, Anne Marie.
no.
Nate?
Yes, yes.
I'll vote yes.
Okay. I will also vote yes. As is a majority vote, that means that the motion passes successfully in the negative, meaning that we rule that he does have a conflict of interest.
That's correct.
So maybe someone could let Peter know and he could take his stuff and leave since it's the only agenda item tonight.
Thank you. But he has.
Thank you, Matt. We'll wait for
Yeah.
Peter to collect his things.
many members are needed for a quorum?
We need 4 affirmative votes to issue a certificate of appropriateness. Thank you for your time tonight, Peter.
You're quite welcome.
See you soon.
Absolutely, thank you.
I hope.
Indeed.
In my bag.
Okay. That being settled, we do turn to the regular order of the agenda, which would mean that for the certificate of appropriateness for 198 Broadway, map lot 047-012, the Broadway Historic District, the applicant or owner is Steve Farren. Approval is requested for certificate of appropriateness for replacement of slate roof with GAF slate line asphalt shingles. The property again is located at map lot 047-012 in the Broadway Historic District. Mr. Farren, if you would approach the podium, please. As with the last meeting, we do require 4 affirmative votes, which means we would have to be unanimous to issue your certificate tonight. Just so that you're keeping it.
So
There.
from correspondence with the city from last Thursday or Friday, there were to be 6 people here, was what I was told. Mr. Keebler brought up at the last meeting 3 weeks ago that he may have a conflict of interest.
Yes, he did bring it up. It could not be resolved that evening because we moved to proceed today,
Okay.
unfortunately.
I'm just curious, I understand there's procedure and everything, but couldn't there have been some kind of, well, then we maybe need to have, because now there are not 6 of you, there are not 5 of you, there are now 4 of you.
If
And the city told me that there would be 6 people, 5 members and 1 alternate.
I cannot speak for what the city told you,
Right.
of course. There are 5 regular members, of which we have 4 in attendance tonight, and Mr. Keebler was the alternate member who was, I'm assuming, on the city's list. So I have 1 full member who is not in attendance tonight. That's all in my path.
Right,
this
no,
moment.
I understand, it's just, this is back to what we were at 3 weeks ago where there were only 4 people.
Yes,
This isn't even a majority rules, this is 4 out of 5, which now means once again, I am expected to get 4 out of 4 by no wrongdoing of mine. The city did, because we ran into, as you know, we ran into this issue 3 weeks ago.
correct.
There was supposed to be coordination between the city and this committee to be sure that this date would work for the HPC to have 6 people here, 5 members and 1 alternate or whoever, 5 total, but 6 here.
I mean, I just think we can't compel attendance. We would like perfect attendance, but it's not feasible, particularly with a volunteer board. And our legal requirement is that we have a quorum to meet. So we do have a quorum, and, the ball is in your court if you want to proceed, or you could proceed and see how the evening goes, and then decide if you want to withdraw.
I guess at this point, we just proceed, because this could go on for a long time. So, everybody's ready,
If you are willing to proceed, we will happily proceed with you, sir.
I'm proceeding.
Okay.
You've spent a lot of your summer nights here now. As I understand, it's harder to get a committee in the summer. I can't think of anything I would rather not be doing than this, as I'm sure each of you. Luckily, it is cloudy out, but,
Then, since we are proceeding,
Yeah.
please present your project.
Okay.
I will remind, just for the committee for consideration purposes, this is a new presentation for us.
In December of 2024, my property at 198 Broadway sustained significant damage during a windstorm when a large tree fell and damaged a roof structure. An assessment of damage was completed by National General Insurance, who employed an engineering firm, Keystone Experts and Engineers to assess the slate roof, since their appraiser was not an expert in such a roof. The engineering firm came to the conclusion that the roof has surpassed its useful life and repair would not be possible. In January of 2025, I received an email from United Insurance that the entire roof would need to be replaced before the next renewal cycle, or coverage would be denied. The formal letter was included with the application. As stated to the HPC and the Appeals Board, both of which denied replacement, but instead ordered the roof repaired, the current state of the roof is beyond repair, nor would my insurance company allow it. It has deteriorated to a point where repair does not make sense. Through countless efforts, no company would guarantee their work for any period of time, provide an estimate, or provide a timeline for work to be started or completed. Fortunately, a Massachusetts-based company provided an evaluation and also determined the roof had surpassed its useful life. Due to their demand as one of the only companies qualified to do such work, it would be late 2026 before work could begin. Their report was also included with the application. Faced with the imminent risk of further property damage and the inability to secure insurance, I made the responsible decision to replace the roof with GAF slate line, a high-quality synthetic slate product designed to preserve the architectural character of the home while protecting it from future harm. Regrettably, a key HPC member, Mr. Whitecamp, presented misleading and unsubstantiated information that influenced the outcome. The HPC member made a false evaluation of the roof condition of 198 Broadway based not on actual knowledge or examination of the roof, but simply influencing committee members based on a small photo and lacked any expert analysis or firsthand evaluation in order to provide job security to himself and his partners, ultimately attempting to stop any homeowner from replacing a decaying roof with products that advanced with new technology. It is no coincidence that in 3 years as a committee member, he chose to have his company speak against asphalt roofs or any material that isn't slate at the same hearing where the first application was sought during his tenure. It is deeply concerning that a committee responsible for preserving historic properties lacks consistency, transparency, and technical knowledge about modern building materials and the economic realities faced by today's homeowners. Some HPC members are renters or do not own historic properties, which calls into question their practical understanding of these challenges. Furthermore, there is no published objective list of pre-approved products, materials, or standards, leaving homeowners at the mercy of shifting opinions. Bangor is not the city it was in 1880, 1980, or even 2020. Home values are declining, and many residents lack the financial capacity to maintain costly original materials like slate. Without pragmatic solutions, more historic homes will fall into disrepair, eventually becoming unsalvageable. The HPC's original mission to preserve and guide has been undermined by arbitrary decisions and a lack of long-term vision. The intentions upon its establishment in 1971 clearly failed. HPC has failed in its effort to protect properties, allowing the majority of surrounding homes and those within other historic districts to be divided up into multifamily homes and rooming houses, approving wooden fire escapes to be installed on numerous Broadway homes, while denying the demolition of a garage the city deemed unsafe. Broadway, also known as Route 15, is no longer the quiet, historic corridor it once was. According to the Maine DOT, approximately 35,000 vehicles travel Interstate 95 across Broadway, while 20,000 vehicles travel under the I-95 bridge on Broadway itself per day. So-called HPC violations are rampant here, varying from asphalt roofs, vinyl windows, vinyl siding, makeshift exterior stairs and decks to accommodate single-family houses being demoted to apartment buildings, satellite dishes, and dilapidated and neglected exteriors, some of which have been approved by this committee, while others were denied. This neighborhood is not the neighborhood it was when the committee was founded, nor is it the neighborhood it was when I purchased my home 8 years ago. Newer, better technology exists and must be adopted in order to protect these homes from further irreparable damage, inevitably leading to complete loss. The majority of properties' roofs are beyond repair and must be replaced. If a reasonable, cost-effective solution is not adopted, these properties will continue to fall into disrepair to a point where the cost to repair is far greater than the value of the home. In many cases, this time is now. To illustrate the inconsistency, consider the following. Roofs on Broadway currently made of asphalt or metal. Numbers 80, 133, 135, 136, 163, 164, 191, 205, 208, 217, and 218. On West Broadway, numbers 2, 32, 40, 47, 48, 56, 63, 64, 69, 72, 80, 91, 101. The HPC granted requests for replacement of slate with asphalt shingles are as follows. This list is solely based on the limited resources available to the public, as records are apparently not available due to City Hall construction. 140-142 Hammond Street, granted. 17 Pond Street, granted. 136 Broadway, granted. 401 Pushaw Road, granted. 208 French Street, asphalt roof granted along with vinyl siding. Bangor Waterworks, granted. Also, they allowed the demolition of the dam keeper's house. The HPC denied the following. The Bangor Masons Building request to demolish a dilapidated garage with no historic significance, denied. 198 Broadway, slate roof to asphalt shingle, requesting a higher quality slate-like material superior to all asphalt on surrounding 10 properties, denied. Although I have been previously denied, today I stand before you as a new applicant who qualifies for undue hardship based on the information provided, specifically from my insurance company. The hardship is unrefutable based on your ordinance. Over the past 7.5 years, I have invested well over $3.5 million in Bangor properties, including transforming condemned houses or vacant lots into valuable, livable homes. My intent has never been to cut corners, but to protect and restore these historic properties. I chose the gas slate line not because it was cheaper, but because it is a durable, architecturally appropriate solution that mimics the original material while offering modern protection. It is time for the city of Bangor to hold HPC accountable, demand transparency, and require the use of objective, data-based decision-making. If we continue down this path of inconsistent rulings and outdated ideals, we will lose what we claim to protect. This is from my insurance company, National General. It's from January of 2025. Please be advised that a recent loss has brought to our attention the condition of the insured's roof. The roof is in poor condition and requires that the entire roof be replaced as soon as possible. The current condition of the roof can result in future losses. If the roof is not replaced prior to the renewal date, a non-renewal notice will be issued on the account. I have here a report from NEI construction company based out of Massachusetts. Dear Mr. Farron, at your request, on January 17, 2025, an engineer and craftsman from NEI of Hudson, Mass. Performed a site evaluation of your roof at 198 Broadway in Bangor, Maine. An inspection was carried out on both the house and barn roofs. Based on visual inspection alone, it is evident that numerous areas on both structures exist where the existing slate shingles are cracked, flaking, lifting, shifted, and missing. There are several areas where the soffits show sign of rot and separation. Trapped moisture will likely exacerbate further decay if not addressed. Our inspection indicates movement of the slate roofing is being caused by excessive deterioration of the slate shingles and the nails and fasteners holding the shingles in place. At the time of the inspection, we found water and ice built up in locations causing the shingles to lift off the sheathing. Rusted and deteriorated nails exist throughout the roof, which compromise the roof integrity. Representative locations on both structures were identified, exclusive of what appears to be recent repaired areas, and attempts made to remove shingles from each section to assess their current condition. In each instance, nearly every shingle split or splintered during careful removal. Based on the level of care taken to remove individual shingles, it is evident that, aside from small previously repaired areas, the current slate roof shingles have deteriorated to a point where reuse is not an option. Based on our inspection, less than 5% of the existing material is salvageable, and the material was most likely installed during the many evident repair attempts made to the roof. Additionally, the current drip pans show evidence of incorrect repairs and appear to have exceeded their useful lifespan. which will ultimately allow water to penetrate the roof rakes and soffits throughout both roofs. We were unable to inspect the sheathing, but based on our inspection, it could be determined that deterioration of the current sheathing is underway. To prevent further significant damage, it is our recommendation that the existing roof material to be removed in its entirety and replaced with the new slate or asphalt shingles, along with proper waterproofing and flashing materials. Based on our assessment, time is of the essence to avoid any and prevent further and potentially irreparable structural damage to your property. While a slate roof replacement can be done, it has become an economically adverse home roof systems based on cost and home values. In keeping with historic values, which can be significant to many historic homes and communities in New England, the GAF slate line is an excellent replacement alternative for slate. It allows the ease of installation and maintenance associated with asphalt roofing material while maintaining the look of real slate. By definition, the GAF slate line is meant to mimic the look of real slate, but offers the proven reliability of an architectural shingle. This product has been widely accepted, used, and praised throughout many historically sensitive areas in New England where the look of slate is warranted, but without the maintenance and cost associated with slate. GAF currently offers a 50-year transferable warranty on the slate line product, along with a 10-year workmanship warranty from NEI. Slate installation comes with a 10-year product warranty direct from the supplier, along with a 1-year workmanship warranty from NEI. On average, the cost of slate is roughly 4 times the cost of asphalt. The slate line material cost is approximately 15 to 20% more than a standard architectural shingle, but offers a slate-like appearance. Due to the condition of the existing roof and other unknowns, we are unable to provide a lump sum quote to replace your roof. The estimated cost of a full slate replacement of the roofs on your property at 198 Broadway will be somewhere between $220,000 and $260,000, based on current labor and material costs. Supply, based on color, would be attained prior to replacement. As stated previously, we recognize that many situations exist, especially with homes where slate installation is not economical. In response to your inquiry regarding synthetic slate, we do not work with and will not advocate for so-called synthetic slate, as it has been shown to be unable to withstand the harsh temperature and weather condition fluctuations of the Northeast and New England climate. We are currently scheduling asphalt roof replacements for late spring to early summer of '25, while a slate roof installation will be third quarter of 2026. Our slate roofing contractors are a small team of precise craftsmen and are typically booked out a year to a year and a half. Please review all of the information relative to the slate line product line, and feel free to reach out with any questions or concerns you may have, and let us know if you would like a quote for installation of the slate line product. I have a letter from my neighbor who was unable to be here. He actually sent this email to Ms. Craig. Good morning was directed your way by the legal department in regard to 198 Broadway roofing request. I saw their application back last month, and to me it is 100% reasonable to be approved in light of the lack of any competent trades to work on such roofs and the lack of any tax support by the city to undertake such expensive restoration, even if it was possible. Walter Mussum was the best at it and did all the work on that house as well as mine. But he has long since passed, and Bob Ruddy, equally as good, was the other artisan, but he has since retired. I was shocked to see that the parents now have to appeal. Many years ago, I first used Roof Systems of Maine, and they made a mess of my roof and tried to double the quoted price. It all had to be ripped out. Fortunately, Walter was at his prime at the time. The process for homeowners in this area needs to be user-friendly, especially to those of us like the Farrens that are to keep these grand old houses going as single dwellings and not carving them up. If there is an expectation to have the houses conform to ways of construction that no longer exist, then the city must be held to the same standard. Our street looks nothing like what a 1900 era boulevard should look like. The lamp standards, hot top sidewalks, and concrete curbs being the most obvious and glaring contradictions. Can homeowners in these areas expect period correct restoration to our streets to the degree they are held on what to roof their home with? Further, if this is a priority to the city, that a means of property tax credit for exorbitant restoration work, saving a slate roof, versus reasonable repair costs, replacing with modern sustainable materials, must be in place if the HPC is to have any relevance. I have had the pleasure of living at 188 Broadway for 20 years. John and Lynn Roman did yeoman work maintaining 198, as I have done at 188. But in 2025, common sense needs to prevail as to what is even possible anymore. Specifically, with slate roofs, the days have sadly passed that knowledgeable artisans exist. A protocol of period correct-looking, modern, cost-effective material options for the homeowner should be in place so that a homeowner in such a situation can work towards a known realistic replacement without the added hassles of numerous hearings, cost to the city, etc. So they are encouraged to work as best as they can with the overall goal of visual preservation. The goal of exact same materials has passed, in some cases not even safe. At some point, these houses will reach their end of life. Mine is 112 years old, 198 even older. And this rate will only be accelerated if a realistic plan is not drafted. They will eventually drift into disrepair once they are no longer viable, a far worse case than a slate to asphalt roof. I am a huge fan of this type of home, hence I bought one, but it needs to be a common sense, realistic partnership facilitated by the HPC and the city to have any realistic hopes of survival. Sincerely, Ian. That's what I have for now. At this point, I'm going to introduce Rick Violet, who has some information regarding prices and things like that he will be bringing up.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And just to let the commission know, John Hamer, the attorney from Redmond Winchell, is on Zoom.
Oh, thank you.
Good evening. I apologize for my voice. I'm a little under the weather tonight. My name is Rick Violet. I'm a general contractor, and I'm also a shareholder in a company that owns a property at 9799 Broadway, so I'm familiar with the situation of slate roofs because we have a partially slated roof at that location. I'm not a slate contractor. I'm not qualified to install a slate roof. I have removed slate from about 4 roofs in my career, and generally when that's done, by the time you're working with it, it's crumbling. You can barely touch it, and it's coming off the building. I've seen photographs of Steve's roof and the materials that came off that. I don't have any. These are from 18 West Broadway. They put in with steel nails. They're exactly the same way that they were done at Steve's. And ironically, the owner of the property at 18 West Broadway, he and I do vacation together, occasionally going hiking, and we were down in North Carolina, stopped into Asheville to see the Biltmore. What were they doing at the Biltmore? They were in the process of replacing the slate roofs. How do I know that? Because we took what was called the rooftop tour, and they actually took us up on the roofs and showed us exactly that with rusting nails. Fortunately, the Biltmore has enough money to spend replacing slate roof with slate shingles, and they were doing it with copper systems and so forth. But the roofs in Bangor are all put on with old steel nails, and that's the result. Those are the ones that are on the ground. I've taken some off buildings that look exactly like that. Those fell off the roof. When I can tell when, even though I'm not an expert in slate, I can tell when a roof is due for replacement. One is when winter weather, severe rainstorms, high winds result regularly in shingles falling to the ground. It's time for a new roof. when a roof is leaking in multiple locations, as we're experiencing at 9799 Broadway. It's time for a new roof. You can't look at a roof and say, it's leaking here, so I know that the leak is directly above it. It doesn't work that way. The water comes in, it goes down a rafter, it goes down a truss. But when you're getting leaks all over the place, it's time for a new roof. When you have cracked shingles, broken pieces all over the ground after virtually every storm, it is time for a new roof. I think Steve showed pictures of his roof, and I think it's in your file. There's nothing about that roof that looked remotely salvageable. I assume that you're familiar with the Interior Department's various preservation briefs. And this is not the entire brief, it's a portion of one. But it was published, that was published in 1993. And it states that a slate roof typically lasts 60 to 125 years. This was 1993, and this was also back in the days when the federal government provided more or less reliable, factual information. We are now 25 years into a new century, and many roofs in Bangor are well past what the federal government says is a serviceable life of a slate roof. Unfortunately, I don't have multiple copies of this one, but this is from a slate contractor who basically said, I think his numbers are slightly different. He says 75 to 100 years rather than 60 to 125 years. Steve's roof was at least that old. It's these roofs, contrary to what some people seem to think, they don't last forever. Apparently, well, I don't know what this board was told because I wasn't here at the meetings. I've simply reviewed minutes. But I met with a local slate contractor who said, you don't have to replace the slate roof, you just repair it. You repair it, you repair it. That suggests that it's possible to tell where the leak is coming from, and it's not. It suggests further that homeowners with slate roofs ought to be willing regularly every 2, 3, 4 years to spend tens of thousands of dollars to simply do repairs and not ultimately fix the problem. And to me, it suggests somebody who wants to ensure job security. Slate is rock, obviously. Rock doesn't last forever. Visit the Grand Canyon. Walk up the marble stairs at the US Capitol or at the old courthouse on Hammond Street. It wears away. Take a geology course. The rock doesn't last forever. The preservation briefs put out by the US Department of Interior recognize that there are times when you may not be able to replace the same with the same. One is when it comes to difficulty finding contractors. I put together a group of homeowners who own properties in various historic districts in Bangor. And we contacted 14 contractors who advertise as doing slate. One of them's local. 13 of them were in Massachusetts. Those are the only ones we could find. One of the things that Preservation Brief 16 says is you can consider the scarcity of qualified contractors. Of those 14 that I contacted, one got back to me and said, are these commercial projects? I said, no. Sorry, we only do commercial projects. There was another one that was scheduled to come up to Belfast to look at a job. So he decided he would be willing to come to Bangor, and we got estimates on 4 other roofs. And then the local company gave us an estimate. And I will provide those to you to show you how exorbitantly expensive it is to do a slate roof. These are four separate properties, and I do not have them for all of the commissioners. We sought estimates for roofs at 10, 18, and 28 West Broadway, all of which have had various roof issues, and the carriage houses on those properties, as well as 97, 99 Broadway. Each estimate that we have there also contains an aerial view from the City of Bangor's website, so you can see the property. It also shows the assessed value of the property. So the estimates are as follows. For 97, 99 Broadway, which has a property value, assessed value of about $952,000, it was $333,000 to replace the slate on that roof. So 1/3 of the assessed value. I don't understand why Blackstone's was only $85,000. We may look into that. Property at 28 West Broadway, which has an assessed value of $666,000. The two estimates to do the building are between $397,000 at the low end and $512,000 at the high end. That's for the house. For the garage, $154,000 and $62,000. Because everybody wants to spend $62,000 re-roofing their garage. So depending on which estimate you use, that's between 69 and 101% of the assessed value of that property. 10 West Broadway, which has an assessed value of $609,000. The local contractor said $442,000 to do the roof of the house, $218,000 to do the roof of the garage. The contractor from Massachusetts said $628,000 to do the roof of the house. 18 West Broadway, the former Conquest property, has an assessed value of $582,000. The local contractor said $739,000 to replace the slate roof. The one from Massachusetts said $839,000. The local contractor did not give a price on the garage. The Massachusetts contractor said $385,000 to do the garage. Even if the appraised values of these properties are greater than the assessed values of these properties, it's unlikely that any property owner has enough equity in these properties unless they own them free and clear to get the money to do what this board would have them do with slate. It's infeasible. I don't want to cast aspersions on this current board. I've been before this board, but it's been probably 20 years. And in my previous times before this board, it seems that past board members are of the belief that those of us who own properties in historic neighborhoods have an unlimited supply of money to be able to do whatever this board deems to be appropriate. And that isn't the case. I've searched the records from when we bought 9799 Broadway 20 years ago. And there is absolutely nothing in our files from the real estate agent, from the previous owner, from anybody that has suggested in any way that at some point in time we could look to spend $300,000-$400,000 to replace a roof. We knew it was beautiful property, we bought it, it had already been carved up into apartments. we've tried to maintain it, but the limitations imposed by this ordinance preclude that. The owners of the other properties I've discussed have had similar experiences. And I don't think any person should be required to spend some multiple of the assessed value of their property, or even a significant percentage of the assessed value of their property to simply be able to maintain it. I'm sure that you have seen, and that is not the entire brief, those are sections that we've highlighted, another preservation brief on substitute materials. It says that it has to recognize, that you have to recognize the need for flexibility. It recognizes that the use of historic materials might not be economically feasible. On page 8, it states that substitute materials may be reasonable to consider where in-kind replacement is prohibitively expensive. I think Steve has shown that. I think we've shown it with respect to these other properties. So I think it's appropriate to allow substitute materials. I'm going to present some pictures that I should have given you earlier, which I just, this is a picture of the property. I want to say it's Tate Fetch. I forget the address. This is their carriage house, and I was discussing it with a local contractor. Oh no, that can be repaired. There's shingles coming out everywhere on that barn. These other three pictures are from 18 West Broadway. Unfortunately, I didn't take a picture of the carriage house roof because there are similar shingles all over the ground after every storm. So the issue that I think concerns me the most is that this board has in fact approved certificates of appropriateness for other properties. 136 Broadway, done by Roof Systems of Maine. Asphalt, it replaced slate. (140, 142 Hammond Street). Slate was replaced with asphalt. (17 Pond Street), and it's on the left-hand side of the picture, and there's a closer view of it. Replaced slate with a metal facsimile of slate. I've seen the certificate of appropriateness for that property because I was approached by the homeowners to do other work at the property that didn't impact this commission at all. It was interior work. And I said, oh, when did you do your roof? Prior owner did it, and they pulled out the certificate of appropriateness to show that they were in compliance. The waterworks. Slate replaced with asphalt. Now I understand if the Bangor Daily News captured the statements correctly, that Mr. Farron was told at a meeting when he raised the waterworks as an issue. Well, there's two reasons for that. One is that it's not in an historic neighborhood. And that is absolutely correct. It is not in an historic neighborhood. It is, in fact, referenced by name in the ordinance, saying this ordinance applies to the waterworks. It's not in an historic neighborhood. It's an historic landmark. But a shingle roof, an asphalt shingle roof was proof of that. And second, that the building was so deteriorated that allowing asphalt was a reasonable option. So follow that to its logical conclusion, that suggests that all of us who have slate roofs ought to wait until they deteriorate further so that more than half of our shingles are on the ground, and then we can do asphalt or some other replacement for slate. .208 Front Street, asphalt, replacing slate. And finally, the others I understand. The one I don't understand is 401 push-on. Slate replaced with screw-down metal roofing. I do think, first of all, that Steve qualifies based on what he went through with his insurance company for a hardship permit or a hardship certificate of appropriateness. But I also think he qualifies for one based on the fact that it's unreasonable to require him to replace slate with slate given the cost. And it's also inconceivable to me that this commission is not bound by its previous decisions to allow different materials on these various other properties. Thank you.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
So I appreciate your demonstration of the flexibility of this commission. I think you provided excellent evidence to show that we review cases on a case-by-case basis and have showed not a rigid standard, but an openness to discuss things with each case that comes before us. I also really appreciate the detailed evidence you provided of duplicate quotes from different slate installers and also appraised value of properties for several properties. And I'm curious if you have that material for the property that we're discussing tonight.
Steve has presented that.
Right, so we do not have that.
We do not have that. We
So
do
I
not-
just want to make that a matter of record.
Yep.
That I appreciate that you've demonstrated our flexibility, and that we do not have the kind of evidence that you presented to us tonight about other properties, about the particular property that we made a decision about in November.
Well, I've seen the photographs of Steve's roof.
Yep,
I've seen the engineering report. He did have evidence that that roof needed to be replaced, couldn't be repaired. And
so just
It's
the
right- it's right.
engineering report is for this application. We did not see that in November.
okay,
So there's new evidence that we're considering tonight.
but again, I guess what strikes me as problematic in what you just said is flexibility. When I go before a municipal board, planning board, for example, I know that if I go in and I look at the standards that they review for a subdivision or for site plan review, and I check all the boxes and I provide all of the evidence that's required, whether an individual board member likes or dislikes the project is irrelevant, because I've ticked all the boxes and I can do my project.
I completely agree with you.
Unfortunately, and it's not your fault, but the ordinance talks about appropriate. How does a homeowner know? Because if you've approved asphalt 4 or 5 times, why isn't that permissible? I mean, well, is it because you decided on this occasion you don't like asphalt? Would you rather have screw-down metal roofing? You need, I think once you have a precedent set for what you've allowed, you allow it. That's the problem I'm having with all of this. And I think Steve presented all of that. He presented the waterworks. He presented he didn't have the engineering report. I didn't know that. I got involved later on because.
That's right. We appreciate your
because-
testimony.
Because my company, not my construction company, but my company that owns 9799 Broadway, we got roof issues that we're dealing with. And we will probably be here sometime in the near future. So it's important to us as well. And it strikes me that if facsimile asphalt shingles have been allowed for one property, and if somebody determines that the roof needs to be replaced and can't be repaired, then that's a box we've checked. This is something that you've allowed, and we go on. What I can't figure out is how it can be allowed sometimes and not other times. That's the problematic part that I'm facing.
So this is about the previous application for this property. The issue, as I recall it, and I'm sure the other council members can correct me if wrong, the issue wasn't as much slate asphalt as it was a lack of evidence to back up the claims of it's going to cost X, it's going to cost Y for me to do a full slate replacement. The applicant had some generalities and said, this is what I've been told, no one will give me a written quote. And it was, well, can you give us something? Can you find us something? Can you give us an email? Can you give us something? Please come back with that. And then we can hear that. And then it proceeded on as it went through. As the vice chair has said, the amount of evidence provided just in this particular scenario you're doing, more than adequate. It's fantastic. Overload us with evidence. I don't think anyone on this commission would complain that someone is giving us too much information.
Hasn't happened yet.
Hasn't happened yet. As a historic preservation professional, it can be difficult to work within the different guidelines, federally, state, municipal. Trying to make sure I don't say anything, getting anyone all riled up. But we do have to review these on a case-by-case basis. So I hope it is understood that it sounds like there's an insinuation that we are operating under
Arbitrary.
arbitrary and capricious, or just arbitrary. No reasonable good faith effort in what we're doing with these. And we are reviewing these on a case-by-case basis. We are approaching each application on its merits. And were you presenting an application, you would have met the merits and then some, because you provided the ample evidence. You know, if someone tells me there's an archaeological site here and they don't give me any evidence, how am I supposed to believe them that there's something there? If you say, Nate, there's something here, look, I found X, Y, Z, then I can say, okay, there's evidence that tells me that there's something there. If you tell me this is going to be an expensive roof to replace, here is quote A, quote B, quote C.
And I
Fantastic.
understand his frustration.
And I do too.
Because again, I contacted 14 companies, 3 responded, 1 said, not interested in that kind of work, and you've got the
Yeah.
information from the other 2.
And I can understand.
And Steve's roof is comparable to those.
Yeah, and I completely understand that, and I know, and you're correct, the preservation briefs, they do say, if you cannot find appropriate materials, then you can replace with, you know, the appropriate type of materials, that could be newer, could be different.
And I will also point out that the company in Massachusetts was looking a couple of years out, as is the local company, because apparently they're doing the Ohio Street property next, the children's home, orphanage, whatever, day school, preschool now, I guess. But when you got a leaking roof, you can't wait that long.
No, I understand. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to,
No,
thank you.
So, before we move on to the next part of the meeting, Mr. Farren, does that complete your presentation of your application? Then we can do discussion, I just
Sure.
want to make sure that's all done.
I have a couple of photos also there.
Thank you.
should have enough there for everybody just to see. Just curious if anybody can tell me anything at all about that property. Anything. What I can tell you is that property, the last owner of that property was Husson College, who turned it into a dormitory of some type. That was quite a while ago. By the time Husson College, who has some money, was done with it, the property was deemed unsalvageable. That property sat at 113 Broadway in Bangor. Here's what, there's a few there. That is what sits on that property now. Unfortunately, those pictures are a few weeks outdated, and since that time, a quarter of the front facade has actually continued to fall off. I don't like that building. I don't think any of you like that building. It's smack dab in the middle of the historic district. The 8 years that I have lived on Broadway, it has not changed much from those pictures. It was under construction then, it is under construction now. I'm sure it bothers all of you. It bothers everyone that lives on Broadway, and but that is what we are facing. If these properties are not protected, the beautiful home that you see there will be gone, as will so many more, and with the way commercial real estate is now, I don't know what would go there, because that building apparently is not making money, or in the past 8 years, they may have sort of finished it. But this is, it's just another example. Broadway's changing, as Bangor is changing. Some good, some maybe not, but we all just need to change with the times and just be accepting that that home, at one point, when it was built and done, it's probably a multi-million-dollar home. Those don't exist anymore, and nor do the people to afford them. And that's all I have. If anybody has any questions for me, or
At this point? Good, okay. Okay,
I'm good. Thank
Okay.
you.
so the next order of the meeting would be bring the consultant's report into record, since Mike is not here. I do have, well, it's all in your packet, but I will read Mike's report in just for the record. As with the last time we did this, I will include your comments that you had responded to initially, just so they're back in the record again. But if you feel like I missed anything, by all means.
What's the date of this report?
This is the date from the previous meeting.
Yeah.
We've had it before.
Yeah.
So the property, of course, is 198 Broadway. The applicant is Stephen Farren, and he is the owner. The project is to replace the existing slate shingled roof with asphalt shingles. Mike notes that the William H. Pitcher House was designed and built by Pitcher between the years 1850 and 1864. The primary style of the house is Italianate, with a distinctive two-story bay window added to the front facade in 1900. The applicable sections of the land use code would be 148-9 under evaluation standards, and the description of the work is an alteration. So the certificate of appropriateness, again, is to replace the existing slate shingled roof with asphalt shingles. Mike's comments were as follows. Slate shingles exist on the house and the large stable behind. Does the applicant intend to replace the slate shingles on the stable with asphalt shingles as well as the house? The response from Mr. Farren was slate shingles on the stable or barn will be replaced with the same GAF slate line shingles. That area, or this area, also has multiple leaks and deteriorating shingles. Okay. The applicant states that the only solution is to remove the slate shingles and the wood shingles below and replace them with asphalt shingles. Can the slate shingles not be reinstalled with matching slate shingles replacing the damaged ones? A slate roof is far more sustainable than asphalt. The asphalt roof will likely be replaced 3 times within the 75 to 100 year lifespan of a slate roof. As a reminder, of course, for the commission, this property had wooden shingles that were roofed over with slate shingles at some time in the past. The response from Mr. Farren, the shingles currently on the property have deteriorated to a point where reinstalling them would not solve the issue or improve the appearance. My roofing contractors state that due to their brittle condition, the majority of the existing shingles will most definitely break and deteriorate even further during removal. At a minimum, 90% of the existing shingles currently have breaks and deterioration. This deterioration of the shingles will only continue, rendering the reinstallation of existing material to be nothing more than a temporary fix, along with being visually displeasing. Previous repairs in every attempt to match existing patina of current shingle with other shingle has been impossible despite all efforts. Each repair previously made shows a clear difference in material. Additionally, the GAF Slightline has a lifetime warranty to the original and second owner if installed by a certified contractor. The contract performing the installation work is a preferred GAF installer. The cost to replace with slate would exceed 3 to 4 times that of the proposed slate line with no warranty as to workmanship. The Bangor Waterworks project was cited as a project that the HPC approved, replacing the original slates with asphalt shingles. As the commission knows, every project is reviewed on its own merits. Unlike the waterworks, the Picture House is in a neighborhood surrounded with houses of highly valued architecture. I only use the Bangor Waterworks building as an example, as it is the same product I'm proposing and gives a great visual to what the product looks like installed. Current properties located within the Broadway district with asphalt roofs are house numbers 80, 133, 135, 163, 164, 191, 205, 208, 217, and 218. The majority of those that still have slate roofs are in need of replacement and are not visually pleasing. Properties located within the Whitney Park Historic District, also known as West Broadway, with asphalt roofs are as follows. Number 2, 32, 40, 47, which is Stephen King, 48, 56, 63, 64, 69, 72, 80, 91, and 101, which has a metal roof. Correct? A sheet metal eave trim exists at the roof eaves. Will this detail be maintained? And you did say that eave trim will be replaced with suitable material. I also had not read yet into the record yet. A drastic number of the houses within the Broadway Historic District are deteriorating nearly to a point of disrepair. My intention is to preserve and restore the highly valued architecture on my own home to ensure that it does not fall into disrepair as some have. The cost required to maintain and preserve such a home is significant. In some cases, the cost could far exceed the actual value of the home, which would ultimately result in the loss of these homes. Okay. Okay. So second, or at this point, are there any questions from any of the commission members for anything that we have covered for the consultant's report or Mr. Farren's proposal before we move on to the next phase?
Next phase.
Okay. All right. So now, questions or comments from the audience? Again, please just approach the podium so that everyone can hear you. And if you do wish to speak, just.
Do I need to state my name?
Yes, please.
I'm Anna Maria Baeza, and I live at 45 Ohio Street. And I just have a little statement to read. I said, I'm grateful for the work that the Bangor Historic Preservation Commission does to preserve the character and the history of Bangor. There are very few cities in the United States with so much rich architecture that remains intact. In Europe, people have pride for their history and work to preserve the character of neighborhoods through building codes. We have a treasure here that should be fiercely defended without compromise. The historically designated part of the city is very small and needs to be protected so that it may be gifted to the future. I own a house that is out of the historic district from 1848, but is mostly intact with many original elements. We have worked it has a slate roof, and we have worked to repair the slate, and it's in perfect condition right now. I see myself as a steward of history with a shared responsibility to the city of Bangor and the state of Maine to safeguard my home for future Bangorians. I think of the classic Capra film, It's a Wonderful Life, and how Bangor resembles Bedford Falls from the film. We should all work to keep Bangor from becoming a modern-day Pottersville by sticking strictly to the guidelines set out by the Historic Preservation Commission. The Historic Preservation Commission should have more say in the developmental direction of the city of Bangor as they do their work thoughtfully and with careful research. A city with beautiful architecture as a city that will survive financial storms and have a place in the future of Maine. This commission deserves the support of the entire community. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name's Justin Cartier. I'm a resident of Bangor. I want to thank you all for coming in tonight and sitting in on this. I was a member of the Board of Appeals that sat in on Mr. Farron's first and second appeal until I was removed. But when I watched the presentation on November 14th, when he first presented to the committee, it was a very close vote. I think we were one vote short of approving the certificate of appropriateness. And the things that were lacking that you were stated, I think have been presented this evening, not only by Mr. Farron with the quotes he's gotten from that company, but also I think the second presentation with all of the high quotes for slate roofs certainly is showing what an undue hardship it'll be for anyone. And your ruling today, I'm sure that many people around the country will be watching because Bangor is a very historic, wonderful city, and we appreciate the work you do to keep it that way. And although it's been a very arduous process for Mr. Farron getting to this point of getting his certificate of appropriateness, I think he's shown why he needs it. He needs it, but one of the things I think we should be thankful for is that GAF has come up with this product that does so closely resemble slate. I didn't realize until this presentation that the waterworks didn't have slate on it. Now, granted, I probably need some new glasses, but it does do a good job of resembling that and keeping with those things. The progression of roofing from the cedar shakes to the shingles to the GAF slate line seems to be the correct progression of things over the past 100+ years. And luckily, it'll be one of the homes that'll look more unlike many of the homes that surround him. I don't know what the percentages are, but I'd be curious to hear how many of the homes in that Broadway Historic District do have regular asphalt shingles, not a GAF slate line. So I really do hope that you're able to approve this with a unanimous vote from the four of you tonight. I know that many future homeowners here in the city of Bangor will be watching and will be looking to be able to know that Bangor is a city that they can come to, and that we're going to work hard to keep our homes and their historic history intact, but using some of the new technologies available to us. Thank you all very much. I appreciate your time tonight.
Thank you.
Joachim Boytun, resident at 45 Ohio Street in Bangor. Rent extraction and quick profitable turnover of real estate have become a primary drive in owning a home in today's America, resulting in a race to the bottom line while causing the deterioration of historical architecture. City council members have told us repeatedly that more housing needs to be built in Bangor, often resulting in new, thoughtless, and flimsily made dwellings that reflect a materialistic outlook and aesthetic void. As the Austrian architect Hundertwasser once said, visual pollution is more poisonous than any other pollution because it kills the soul. Preserving our historical housing is a crucial aspect of heritage conservation. How many of Bangor's great 19th century buildings have become a victim of real estate speculation? We once had a magnificent auditorium built in 1897 and seating 5,000 people. Would we not be better off if this historical venue still existed? Imagine having Carnegie Hall right here on the corner of Main Street and Buck Street in Bangor. Architecture reflects society's sense of aesthetic and beauty. In medieval Europe, houses were erected slowly and painfully over the course of many, many years, and they were built to last centuries. Made out of stone, brick, and thick chunks of timber, careful attention was given to geography and climatic conditions, proportionality, layout, and integration within the whole of the city. Members of this committee are the guardians and protectors of our architectural heritage, and their work preserves the beauty and attractiveness of Bangor. It also supports the well-being of our community and the viability of local commerce. Historical architecture is a link to our cultural past. It attracts tourism and business, and it upholds the general value of real estate for everybody. Home ownership requires idealism. We bought a house here in 2017 after 30 years of renting in New York City. Our last city apartment featured a backyard teeming with rats, daily garbage pickups at 2 a.m., the blaring horns from a nearby fire station, and cigar butts thrown down from an adjoining whiskey bar. After our New York experience, we swore that our next dwelling would be a castle, even if it were one with crumbling walls. Our Bangor home dates to 1850 and is not on the historical register. We spared no funds to replace slate roof shingles and heating, rebuild chimneys, install insulation, renovate floors, walls, and tin ceilings. We don't have guests over too often, as the ongoing construction site restricts conviviality. But one day in the not too far distant future, we will be leaving a beautiful house to the next generation, knowing that its new owners will feel the same pride that we felt when we bought it. I wish for members of this committee to be strong and united, to make decisions that benefit not just us, but many future generations to come. Thank you for listening.
Thank you.
My name is Robert Reed. I live at 218 Broadway, one of the houses that was mentioned earlier, 4 doors down from this property. I'm an architect, licensed in the state of Maine. I am not involved in Mr. Farron's project, but I have been involved in several restoration projects, both historic and non-historic, in my 50 years of practicing architecture. In the early 1980s, I was a project architect for restoration of the Gulf Building in sparkling downtown Houston. It was a 35-story Art Deco Manhattan-style setback skyscraper owned by a bank. And one of the first things we asked when we received this commission was if they wanted to pursue a historic preservation on a project. They answered very promptly with a resounding no, that there's too many restrictions with historic preservation. But a chance meeting at a cocktail party between the chairman of the bank and Michael Ainsley, who was president of the National Trust for Historic Preservation, changed all that when they realized that with their $50 million budget for restoring this property, they would receive tax credits up to 50 cents on each dollar they spent. Now, when we pursued the historic preservation of this project, we had to deal very closely with the Texas Historic Commission. And there were some challenges that we had to deal with and negotiate successfully. In 1983, the mayor of Houston, Kathy Whitmire, sponsored a historic preservation seminar, and I was asked to present the restoration of this project at that forum. And one of the other speakers there was a gentleman by the name of Truett Latimer. And Mr. Latimer was a preservationist, and he was the former executive director of the Texas Historic Commission. And he said one thing that was very profound, and it stuck with me to this day. And he said that historic restoration should be done with the heart, or done with the head and not with the heart. Historic preservation should be done with the head and not with the heart. And I think we've heard a lot of arguments over the use of the asphalt shingles. which I feel are a very appropriate replacement for the slate. The slate roof started falling out of favor after World War II. When there was a building boom, when the GIs returned from the war, got married, and had baby boomers like myself, and needed houses to grow up in, and the asphalt shingles were put on these houses because they were economical, they were easy to install, quick to install, and as slate fell more and more out of favor, the quarries closed, and the craftsmen that put these roofs on disappeared, went into other trades, and it became a dying trade, a dying material. And I think there's been a lot of that presented here tonight, that it's very difficult to do that. In my 50 years of practicing architecture, I've never done a slate roof. And I have noticed, as Mr. Fehrencourt pointed out, that the vast majority, walking around the Broadway neighborhood, the vast majority of houses have asphalt shingles. And in many cases, you're really hard pressed at a casual glance to tell the difference between the architectural composition shingles and a slate roof. For me, historic preservation means making owning a historic property affordable, where you can not spend exorbitant amounts on portions of the building like the roof. And putting a new roof on a house does not increase the value, because everybody expects a sound roof when they moved in. It's not like these Andersen window commercials you see on TV where, increase the value of your house by 15%. A new roof doesn't do that. And the savings of going with a affordable material in one area means that there's money that can be spent elsewhere, making the property more presentable. And I think that the very essence of historic preservation is, again, making it affordable to own a historic property. And for me, that's preservation with your head and with your heart. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Joe Pickering. I live on 13 Pond Street. And to be honest with you, I didn't know quite what I was going to say. But I think the situation we face is, well, first, let me say this. I've got empathy for you because it's very difficult what you're in. I also have very empathy for him and his family. We faced this situation 30 years ago. We went before the Historic Commission. The city put a stop on it. We didn't fully understand what this law was. We soon found out. 2/3 of we had vinyl siding up on the 2/3 of the building, the house. It's 13 Pond Street. City refers to it as 1900, absolutely not accurate. It was built in 1859. But what happened was, so what we had to do, we had to come before the commission. The lawyer told me not to speak, decided to get my wife to speak, which was a hell of a lot more effective. And we had to, he was required to put, the fellow that put up the vinyl siding was required to put wood siding, to ensure that it looked historic. There were 34 windows, and on each side of the house and the barn, wooden, as well as wooden frames on each 34 windows. I think the problem is, if he had owned that house before that historic requirement came through, he wouldn't have any problem. Or if he had done this before and taken it off all those, that slate, he'd had no problem, as apparently many others did. And my house must have had a shade too, slate too. Well, what I would like to suggest is, first of all, I hope that if it passes the requirements, I hope that you're going to pass that. But it needs to go further. Why? Because, just let me briefly say this. In my opinion, this is going to continue. And I think what the committee needs to have is a subcommittee, whether it's appointed by one member of the city council, one or two members of the historic commission, maybe in the historical society, or the cultural commission, to look at all of our policies and procedures related to this, to be able to examine them. You know, I've fought the city over this. I made 5 Freedom of Information requests. I didn't like what I was seeing. And so, there was some, I'll just stop there. All I'm saying is, the city really needs to take a very good, hard look at this whole situation, so that we can come up with a better solution. I mean, just along Pond Street, it looks like if you live in some parts of the historic district, there's a distinct inequality. That's what I find. And I just remember 2017 going before, saying, come down and see the property here, not my property, but the one that unfortunately that burned down. And I said, I'm not going to go into that depth, but asking, for example, the city to correct around the corner, the Haywood Street, one side of Haywood Street, which I call Broken Ankle Lane. And that was back in 2007. Well, all I'm saying is, please consider, Ann and the city, please consider appointing a subcommittee. The city council will have to do that, with some members of appropriate members, including the commission, to really do an in-depth examination of what in the world, what changes, if necessary, we have to make. Thank you so much.
My name's Ken Jarvis, co-owner of 136 Broadway. I just wanted to share that from my perspective, we do have a hardship of replacing and repairing these slate roofs on these houses. A few years ago, we realized we were headed for some work on our slate roof. And we contacted a notable, reputable Bangor contractor and waited for a good 2 years for him to get out to start work on it. Unfortunately, he never made it out. And so we were set back 2 years. In that time, we contacted another local reputable contractor who did do the work. And we were here in 2001, and they had assessed that the slate roof was not appropriate, and they recommended the asphalt shingles. January of 21, 136 Broadway LLC got a certificate of appropriateness from this commission to remove the slate roofing and do the shingles. And honestly, they look very nice. They actually look better than the slate at this point. While they were doing that, we discovered that we had rot while we were waiting for the first contractor. We had to tear out 2 walls on each side of the roof and strip it down to the studs and replace it and put the outside back together as it was. And we got that done, and we're back in good shape. We are now looking at another section that needs to be done on a different building. And over a year ago, I contacted that same contractor to come out and give us an assessment whether it could be fixed, repaired, or what the deal was. I'm still waiting for their engineer to come out to assess where we are. And at this point, I'm kind of sitting in the same situation as the first round, where we've got potential problems building. And I just want to say, we have worked with 2 real local reputable businesses and are just delayed on this work. And eventually, they're coming up with the asphalt shingles. And I just wanted to give that example that, at 136 Broadway, I think we've done a nice job with it. Thank you.
Would anyone else like to speak? Okay. Then we will close the public question and comment period. All right, commission, it's discussion time.
So I guess from my point of view, we have the exact same application as in November with 2 significant new additions, and that's the insurer's report and the engineering report. And they both provide pretty clear evidence of urgent need for pretty immediate overhaul of the roof. So I think for me, I'm feeling that on issues regarding the 148-9 statute, it is hard to see how it meets those standards. But in terms of the economic urgency of the project, I think it probably does meet the standard for me to support it.
Yeah, I think the infrastructure, the new infrastructure incorporated report detailing the full slate replacement being between $220,000 and $260,000. To me, when there is a viable alternative that, in my opinion, not an architect, but in my opinion, would not be, visual effect to the surrounding homes. So I remain in support of the application for sure. I also will note that this application did have additional evidence, which is extremely helpful.
Anne Marie?
Well, I was asked to take an oath to uphold the standards, and both the issue and the manner in which it has been approached are unconvincing to me in terms of approving it. I have a lot of problems with the way the application was incomplete when we first got it. It's too, I consider this too late to be asking for us to reconsider it. So,
We were asked to approach this application as if it is the first
oh,
time.
oh, is that true?
This is a new submission, yes.
Oh,
Guys.
Word, come on.
This is a new submission.
so it's as if the other one didn't even exist?
Yes, if you'd like. So that application
I don't
happened,
like it.
This is a new submission with additional evidence.
correct.
Right.
With
Okay.
the infrastructure report, the engineer's report, and the insurance
Can
statement.
we ask that people speak up so members of the audience can hear?
Yes.
Staff accepted it as a new application because there was new testimony, new
I see, I
evidence
see.
provided by the applicant.
I see.
Correct.
It
So,
does,
and I would just add, I think, so the new evidence we've got does not really go to the issues related to the actual historic preservation evaluation standards.
right,
But the new evidence does apply to the question regarding exceptional circumstances.
Correct.
Correct.
The new evidence presented for the application is speaking to the, I would call it the hardship clause or the,
all right, in order for me to accept that argument, I would ask that the financial disclosure, that all the financial statements, records come in for us to consider whether or not that should be a reason to approve. I think just taking somebody's word for the fact that that this is a financial hardship.
Well, that, in my opinion, that is what the New England Infrastructure Incorporated report, they state and give a quote for the estimated cost of a full slate replacement on the property of 198 Broadway is $220,000 to
Yeah,
$200,000.
yeah.
So that is a quote, that is them saying, this is going to cost this much money, which then is entirely up to you to determine if, does that meet the exceptional circumstance standards of 148-9E?
You mean just one quote that comes in?
So we have two new documents in this application. The first is from an insurance company dated January 22nd, basically saying that the house will not be reinsured unless the roof is replaced prior to June 3rd.
Liam,
Yeah,
the attorney would like to speak.
yep.
I apologize for joining late, but I have been here for the last hour and I've been listening to the testimony and everything. The one thing that I did want to point out is that under Section 9E, the exceptional circumstances provision of the ordinance, it does say that the question is whether the property can yield a reasonable economic return or the property or the owner cannot make reasonable use of the property. So the ability of the property owner or large assets the property owner may have are not really relevant. The question is the cost of the work to be done exceeding the value of the property, basically? And if the work that needs to be done renders the property without economic value, then I think you don't need to go much further than that. So it is worth taking a very close look at E1 through A through C, just to get an idea of what the language is. So it's not necessarily that a big corporation would have to spend lots of money where a small person would not have to do the same. It's a question of what is the relative value of the property and the economic return of the property.
Right.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
And so the two pieces of evidence we have to consider this are the insurance company's termination and the statement from New England Infrastructure explaining the dramatic scope of the project.
And then I think if this roof is unable to be repaired, then it would be unlivable, or it would be
Not able to yield a reasonable economic
not
return.
able to yield a reasonable economic
A
return.
health hazard for the occupants.
Thank you.
Here's the problem for me. The slate roof was taken off arbitrarily by the owner, and the slate was all dropped to the ground, and it broke up, none of the shingles would have been salvageable after that was done because of the manner in which they were dropped. So it's too late now. It's too late now to go back and consider that as if it hadn't been done in that way. And I'm going to say no. I'm going to say no because there was no chance to see if the slate was salvageable.
It's in the report. You don't even know what you're voting on. Come on.
Excuse me?
It's in the report, that the slate shingles could not be salvaged, 5% of them.
Public hearing is.
Gentlemen,
I'm sorry, but you have to have more than one opinion about that.
They're not opinions, ma'am, they're facts. What we have there are facts, not opinions.
Where does it say that we need more than one opinion in the statute?
This committee even last time said you didn't bring us one.
Indeed, you did not.
But today in this new, but you've already made up your mind before you got here today.
No,
Didn't you? Didn't you make up your mind before you arrived today?
Emery,
We-
I understand the feelings, really I do. Really I do. But the public testimony part is over.
Understood.
I do.
May I come up and speak? As I know we said we were going to see how this proceeds, and
Commissioner, you amenable to approaching?
Sure.
Yes.
Please.
as I mentioned when I first came up, we were promised by the city that there would be 6 people present, able to vote. I know that 5 only vote. There would be 6 able bodies here, 5 of which would vote. The city, not you, me, however, did not uphold the promise that we would be provided with a fair hearing to get 4 out of 5, which every other committee within the city of Bangor only requires a majority. This is the only one that requires well above majority, 80% of the vote. We are now required to get 100% of the vote because only 80% of the people showed up. This is unfair. As somebody is saying, she is voting based on, when the city told me that we were going to go through this again, it was based on the fact as if this never happened before. She is unwilling to let that go. Perhaps that should have been addressed by the committee, by the city beforehand to make sure that all members understood what we were dealing with here. That has not happened. I am faced again here with what feels like a biased jury and dealt an unfair hand. I haven't been offered the 5 people to vote. I'm being offered 4. I have to get 100% of the vote. That is not possible today. So I think we're going to have to suspend this again. I think perhaps, to save all of these people from, and all of you perhaps, from having to come again, when your other 2 members who were supposed to be here, who do not have a conflict of interest, are able, perhaps a discussion between you guys based on the new evidence, but at this point, it just, I don't even know how to explain it. I think many of you might agree. And this is just, I don't know, I don't have a word, I don't know. I'm very nervous. Childish isn't the word.
If the applicant is amenable, you can table it to your next regular meeting in August.
Probably a good idea.
Are you
I think that's a
amenable?
good idea.
Yes. Rather than not.
If it's tabled to the next meeting, is there going to be a presentation as there was tonight so that the members who were not here can hear the same presentation?
Have to be.
Yes.
Because otherwise, it doesn't much matter.
Right, or they can watch, or the chair can ask them to watch.
It would be our next regular public session. It would be the exact same format, all over again, possibly with a couple other items on the agenda.
And we would have minutes as well.
Correct.
Could we review the minutes
Yes, of course.
And the
They're
tape.
part of your packet.
Well, yeah, but I
They
meant
could watch the meeting.
beginning.
We could ask them to watch the
I
meeting.
mean, would that mean we don't have to come back or still would?
Well,
Still
yeah, I
have
mean,
to
you,
do,
you
still
would
have
want to
to
be
present it.
present as the
Yes,
applicant,
but-
yeah.
I don't love public speaking.
Right. You should be here, but the rest of the audience
But
does not need to.
we won't present again.
You will have that opportunity to.
If you want to.
Okay, all right.
And so who are the additional people who could possibly attend?
We have other, commissioners that will,
Who are, Mr. Whitecamp being one of them?
correct.
He is one of the alternate members, yes.
Okay, there's a problem with that one. Partly because a company that he's associated with has presented some of the evidence that we gave you tonight, and his company came and spoke against Steve's application at a previous meeting.
The commission can address that at the beginning of the meeting that he's present for. The commission can address that if they
Financial
wish.
interest in every roof that is slated.
So this would be part of a conflict of interest disclosure at the beginning of the next meeting of any commissioners that are
I
present.
think what we're getting at, we'd hate to get back to the same where we're back down to 4. The same.
there is a fifth regular member.
Yeah.
Who is not in attendance tonight.
Yeah. So if all five of
I know it's
us,
difficult, I know there's only so many of you, and
Only
understand that.
5 can vote anyway.
well, yeah, that's what I was trying to say, is if all five of the regulars are voting, the two associates,
Wouldn't,
Wouldn't vote anyway.
they would just not be part of the discussion.
and then
Right.
with the conflict of interest, they could.
Sure, yeah, no, I understand.
Yes, sir.
It's already stated.
We just gotta
for-
get them to show up. We even said it.
Yes. We have a request from the applicant to postpone to the next meeting. I assume our legal counsel is amenable to that?
Yes, that's fine. I didn't have you do a motion and take a vote.
I make a motion to table the application for 198 Broadway, the certificate of appropriateness to the next meeting, the August meeting.
Regularly scheduled.
Regularly scheduled August meeting.
I second.
Okay.
And that's, for the record, that's August 14th.
August 14th.
Take a vote.
Yes. Emery?
Yeah.
Yes?
Yes, yes.
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 And I will also vote yes.
Thank you for your
Thanks for your time.
understanding and sympathy, I appreciate it.
Okay. There is no further business for the commission tonight. Thank you all for your attendance.
Right.